Hello everyone and welcome back to Cruel and Unusual Storytime. I am your host, Simon Dexter. And we are once again resuming Patrick's diabetes because I would really like to finish the story sometime before the year 2015 is over. God willing. So I could go into the big long spiel of why I was gone, what took so long, etc., but the thing is, I'm pretty sure a lot of you know what's wrong. Simon really sucks at juggling two things, the job and this. Really hard to juggle at once because the job exhausts me, and then I get too lazy to do this, and it's just a big hullabaloo. So, I'm really going to try and do better. I've got actually the next few days off. I'm going to see if I can't just record like a ton of episodes to tide you over for a few months. I hope. That's my plan anyway. So, I'm hoping this will be a very good experience. Let's just get back into it, shall we? Now, if I could just remember where the fuck I left off. Oh, yeah, the syringe dealio. Goody. Okay. 2:38 p.m. Subject? No subject. There are very rarely subjects, I come to remember. The intact heart popped open, showing a smaller Patrick running off screen to the left. That was fucking fast, wasn't it? He kept running toward the nothingness on the screen, disappearing for about a second. His face appears for a second time on screen. I read that wrong. I gotta get out of here now, he spoke, running on the screen, similar with what happened to Squidward in SB129. How many references does the story have? Somebody go back and make a counter, because I'm not going to do it. Until he tripped, stopping his desperate running, falling down between loud screams. It cuts to him landing harshly over something red, as he opened his eyes. Oh, I guess it's supposed to be some sort of build-up. It was just confusing because it's the same sentence as that last statement. So let me read that one more time. And as he opened his eyes, it was a nightmarish version of the bikini bottom he lived in. The sky went from black to red in colors, 'cause, you know, demonic shit. Same old shit you'd expect. Necronomicon-shaped clouds covered the reddish sky, and solid red stone replaced the soft sand as he walked through town. All buildings were seen burning, rusted, and with several damage. With several damage. I love that. I love everything about it. You can even witness several fish running, screaming, and even laughing their lost minds out. I picked a really awkward time to come back into the story, because I have no idea what the fuck is going on. I'm pretty sure he's dreaming still, but I've been gone a bit, so... Yeesh. Patrick walks by Miss Puff's boating school. Isn't it Mrs. Puff? Some SpongeBob fan you are, I knew that. Every single vehicle was either crashed from somewhere or ultimately destroyed. That made kind of no sense with the from somewhere bit, but maybe that's just me. The last boat standing was driven by the scared teacher herself. I thought it said sacred for a second, but I got a little bit of rusty dyslexia going on. She seemed like she had crashed into a fire hydrant, ripping it out of its base. The victim had her body exploded like a watermelon. Liters of blood gushing out of her, mixing with the dark goo leaking out from the broken hydrant. Patrick couldn't do anything and just kept walking. He just walked past the building, making contact with black seaweed grass. He passes a sign that read, Jellyfish Field, population 1,269. He walked to some tall black tart-colored grass. Tart-colored? Is that a thing? When I think tart, I think taste, not color, but what do I know, I guess. Shit. Every time I go off to talk. With some smoke emanating from an unknown source. Some smoke. There is an A in front of some. I don't know. From unknown source, little nematodes hanging out on the tall grass. Patrick hears voices behind said grass, much to his curiosity. He peeks behind what he saw. He peeks behind. What he saw was terrible. He actually has good grammar. I just have not read in a while. It was Squidward. Dun dun. Stabbed from his bottom to the top of his head with a long clarinet, slowly spinning on a fire, similar to those hot dog machines you see at the amusement park. I was going to think more of a rotisserie chicken, but whatever. Around him stood demonic, bikini-bottom citizens, cheering on with their jaws hanging out. Gross, I think. I don't know. They weren't smiling at all, but they're cheering. Why wouldn't they be smiling? If they felt they somewhat repented of having done this action, the citizens that were cooking Squidward were replicas mushmouth, of Fred, a popular fish in the series. You know, the one who made the "My leg" become a notorious internet meme. He has a name. And Harold. Does big, meaty claws ring a bell? You could just... No, stop. Just say other fish. It's cool. Nobody will blame you. There were two giant fish standing and staring at Squidward's squirming body. On the right was the brown-toed version of Fred, and on the left was Tom, aka the chocolate fish. I'm gonna kill you. He's dead. Stop it. It's bad. Come on. Squidward's grayish-blue hue melted and burned very fast. His eyes were shrunken in his sockets. He was singing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star because for some reason everyone thinks they need to shove in a kid's nursery rhyme to make anything scary. Even though that does not automatically mean scares people. It does not! Oh, hi, Mark. Points to those of you who got the joke without me doing the voice. Assuming they'd become some of the tormented squid's final words. Okay, and then he just has Squidward singing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star for some reason, even though we know the words, so he didn't really need to write it out. But that's just me. Patrick then randomly shouted, "Wumbo!" because waffles. As he couldn't take it anymore. He has already lost it. All the devilfish stopped what they were doing and stared at the source of that yell, except the ones who were cooking their agonizing meal. Tom from the right pointed at Patrick and said, "Chocolate," in a low, disturbing voice. I sounded like Nathan Explosion from fucking Metalocalypse. That was awesome. Okay, not exactly, but it was fun to do. Patrick then looked down. An eel suspiciously looked like Gary grabbed him from his legs, because that makes sense, because eels and snails, two peas in the same pod, you know what I mean? It fiercely aimed its direction toward Patrick's belly button. He twitched hard until the snake came out of his mouth and slithered away. Eels are not snakes, they're eels. Patrick then stood there in nausea until he clutched his stomach and let go of some of the fat it had been kept hidden. Isn't he super skinny now? Isn't he as skinny as a pinky finger? I recall reading that a couple episodes ago. It may have been a while, but I recall it. Shocked by the sight of his own vomit, the starfish ran away from the scene. Oh. Was let go of some of the fat it had kept hidden, another phrase for throwing up, because A, that's not how vomiting works. You don't throw up your fat. And B, you. The camera cuts to a giant jellyfish hive holding by a branch of coral. That sounded weird for some reason. With Patrick bumping into the branch, and all of a sudden. By a branch of coral with Patrick bumping into the branch and all of a sudden. We're trying to connect this sentence to the next sentence, because it kind of makes sense, but the punctuation makes it not work. The hive falls and breaks apart, and all jellyfish that occupied the hive got mad with him almost instantly, as they often do. They rather look like syringes instead of the species we're accustomed to watching, because, again, jellyfish and syringes, peas in the sand pod. Only they were spotted and still kept their poisonous tentacles, because someone drawing that doesn't sound stupid. One of them landed on his prey's arm in an attempt to stab him, but Patrick instinctively slapped it off and quickly stepped over it, making it burst and die. It means stepped on it, because stepping over it means he avoided stepping on it. The rest of the group rage and head towards Patrick, hungry for revenge. He needed to escape as fast as his lungs allowed him, so he needed to escape as fast as his lungs allowed him so. Some of his English is just wonky. As he ran for safety, the rest of the insane environment is shown. Coal and bones replaced all coral that usually brings home to thousands of jellyfish. As for some of the mutant creatures, seems like their basic form of feeding came from several fish remains, all scattered across the blackened field. Patrick barely made his way past an enormous coal hill. His weight managed to generate a giant avalanche that crushed all the jellyfish following him. I've been speaking for a good minute now, and I have no idea what I just said. Sticky insulin leaks out of the mess. The pink starfish falls onto the ground face first. Then he was completely stuck. But that wouldn't stop him trying to escape from whatever thing that happened and would happen. What he saw next made his face disgust. I'm not so sure if this is sexual, but it was SpongeBob and Sandy, but neither of them seemed to wear any clothes at all. The grass could barely cover the lady's naked breasts, which she barely has just because of the bikini. The only things that I could see from Sandy's gear were her helmet and a rather small oxygen device attached to it. Her pupils rolled to the back of her eyes, and her mouth was wide open from the action that was taking place. The squirrel's long tongue started wrapping SpongeBob. Starting from one... this is disgusting, but not scary. Starting from one hole at the side of his mouth, penetrating it, and there it went for the following hole, and then for a third one. He really seemed to enjoy Sandy's company, it was said in his devious expression. He kept a rather long grin on his face, possibly enjoying this weird sexual thing they're doing. Sandy then spoke in a slow, echoism, discomfortable sounding voice. I like you, SpongeBob. Well, that was utterly pointless. Moving on. 5:48 p.m. Subject, no subject. Stop writing subject that there is never going to be a subject. Simple rule of logic, people. Patrick gets up and pulls himself away from the goo. He then runs off to the distance. Again. He runs past a giant, short, fat tree. The camera pans up to the top and showed a nightmarish version of the Krusty Krab. The Krusty Krab looked more like a treasure chest, with all the original details removed, except for the flags. Pearl, Mr. Krabs' daughter, was nailed to the tree, similar to Jesus' execution, crucifixion. Thank you. Her body twitched a bit as well. The cash register was on top of the lobster trap, some money stuffed into it. That was all just gibberish. Mr. Krabs was far more different than from his original appearance. He's really going to reference more things to explain what he looks like. He can't just describe shit on his own. It's impossible. His appearance looked more like more Krabs, even though I don't think I've ever seen that episode, because it looks like I don't know. From Jellyfish Hunter. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about in that one. He had a giant red head with many wrinkles and intense articulation. His nose was bent up and down, looking at it closely. Looking at it closely, he looked like a knife in the color of his real nose. His face seemed to sweat grease of burgers and fat. Grease is fat, you dunce. His jaw was very big, the size of a T-Rex, with big, jagged teeth inside. His eyes were giant and tall, like a branch from a tree. I guess when he does describe shit, though, it's stupid, so maybe he should just stick to the references. Like a branch from a tree, one long line in the middle, and on the top were two smaller diagonal lines bent away from each other. Sorry about that. And the top of these two long sticks were his eyes. Sorry, my brain just totally blanked out for a second. They were long, oval-shaped with bloodshot dark green veins in the lighter green parts of his eyes, and his pupils were dark, sharp black color. and his pupils were dark. You mean a dark, sharp black color? You forgot a letter there, friend. His eyebrows looked like wires in the color of brown. His body was small, but still big to hold his giant head, because that totally makes sense. His shirt and pants were dirty like in Krusty Love. I don't remember that one very much. I'm totally scrolling past too far. And his legs and feet resembled giant, strong pterosaur limbs. His claws were giant and sharp with small jagged nails on the near tip. He also had huge wings mixed with pterosaur and the devil's style. Mr. Crab sees Patrick and said, "Money!" in a low and monster-like voice. I just realized I cannot sing that high, and I should try that again. That was embarrassing for you all, wasn't it? His wings opened wide, and then he flies towards Patrick. It then cuts to the view of Mr. Krabs as he flies to Patrick, his claws and arms stretched over to him. But he was quick enough to avoid it. It then cuts to the normal camera view, showing Mr. Krabs too close to land. I don't know. He either used the wrong "to" or he wrote "to" twice in different spots. I can't tell. And crashes onto the ground. Patrick kept running, but the monster flew in with his jaws open. The red stone goes into Mr. Krabs' mouth, filling his mouth up. What red stone? What red stone? I don't see any previous mention of a red stone, yet you're talking about it like it's existed. I am so lost. Sorry about that. Filling his mouth up, for some reason, the some dollars started to come out. When the monster's mouth got full, it gives up on getting Patrick and flies away. What red stone, though? I'm serious. What the fuck is it talking about? What red stone? Patrick then runs onto some weird gray soft ground. I can get over shit really fast, I guess. I don't know. As the camera cuts the side angle of Patrick as he kept running. But seriously, what red stone? It's really gonna bug me. On top right part of the screen shows some of the characters that Patrick encountered. He doesn't show any attention to these characters as he kept running. The first was Sandy's head. Her head was normal, but she had no pupils and tender-like branches growing behind her head. If you're going to sexualize her anyway, why didn't you just make her naked? She said to Patrick, "We could be tighter than bark on a tree, Patrick," as she floats away. Next was Squidward's head. His head was melted and burned. His eyes were shrunk into the sockets with blue blood leaking out. He said to Patrick, I guess I should have killed myself," as he floats away as well. The final one was the monster, Mr. Krabs, flying by Patrick, telling him, "The money is always right." I love that part of the show, though, as he flies away. Okay, I think we're getting close to the end here. How long has this been running? It could go a little longer. Patrick then trips and rolls on the ground. The ground suddenly turns from gray to pale white. The camera then zooms out and shows the final scare. That was all supposed to be scary, was it? Wow, you could have fooled me. Because, yeah, absolutely none of that was scary, but we'll get to that in a minute here. It was a giant SpongeBob, the same one in the beginning of the dream. I forget what he looked like at the beginning of the dream. Oh, never mind, it just came back to me. SpongeBob laughed evilly as he kept his eyes on Patrick, rolling up and falling down from SpongeBob's back. The entire background was a wasteland of bikini. Of just bikini, not bikini bottom, but all of a bikini, you guys. All the evil bikini bottom citizens are cheering on Mr. Krabs. Sandy, like Gary and Squidward, even though Gary just showed up this second. There's also a cliff showing on the side of the giant cubic creeper, the house of SpongeBob, Squidward, and Patrick. The houses were burned, damaged, and destroyed. How do you burn, damage, and destroy a rock? Okay, damage and destroy, maybe, but burn, it's a rock. And frankly, Squidward's house is also kind of made of stone, so. Patrick screams as he fell down into the hole. The camera cuts to the side of Patrick as he falls. What was shown was a giant humanoid plankton on a cliff, laughing evilly. He looked like a fit, naked man, except he didn't have a genitalia, so he didn't. I can't even think of a joke, that's just so stupid. He had one big bloodshot eye with a wide jaw. Next to him was a giant pot of boiling water, and inside his wife, Karen. He looked like he was killing her, except she's a computer, so killing her doesn't need to include this. Then it cuts to the front of Patrick as he falls into the camera. The last shot was all of the monsters looking down in the hole as Patrick gets crushed on screen for a split second before the screen turned white. It's shown that Patrick's body was crushed and bruised, and the screen turned to white again, I guess. So what was the point of the Plankton Karen thing then? Are you just going for shock factor? Because that's not even good shock factor. Okay, last part of the part 2. I'm praying to God. 6:42 p.m. This is also an extremely long, unrealistically long episode. Subject YTP scene. So we finally get a subject. What a miracle, actually. I think the beginning of this whole sequence might have also had a subject, but still, that's 2 subjects in many different time periods. Here's where what I call the YouTube poop scene, since it was very weird. Are you really gonna make me read a written YouTube poop in this horror story? Are you really gonna waste my time like this? I don't really appreciate that, friend. Not one bit. For 3 seconds, a rainbow swirl background appeared on screen. The swirl was actually animated, swirling around the screen. It was very slow and smooth when it was animated. The background music sounded like a peaceful hip-hop classic heavy metal guitar music mixed with some Hawaii ukulele music, because that all fits together like a glove. For about a few seconds of nothing but a rainbow, a tall cone head slides up from the bottom of the screen. It was Patrick's head. His facial expression was bored and neutral, with his eyelids half covering his eyes and flat eyebrows. And flat eyebrows above them, sorry. His entire body then fit into the screen, showing his full appearance on big screen. He wasn't wearing his pants. Instead, he was wearing this hula skirt that you see in Hawaii. You could have just called it a hula skirt and we would have got the gist. No other country has hula. Well, I guess Hawaii is a state, but fuck you. He was playing a ukulele while he shook his hips a bit. This was a bit funny for some reason. I sort of chuckled along with the DVD hacker. Patrick played the ukulele for about 10 seconds and his body turns around like a 3D trophy, showing his behind. He bent down and showed that he didn't have any underwear, revealing his big fat butt. The shot quickly pans into his butt without a T for some reason, and it grew a little round arm, and did the hula arm wave left and right. I started laughing out loud a bit with my partner. Not loud, but a bit soft. How is this failing on every mark? I can't even get a chuckle out of this. Unless it's being so ridiculous I can't help it. This just goes on for about 3 to 5 seconds until it's about weirdly and disturbingly rips apart from each other like paper being ripped. It even sounded like paper being ripped. Next was SpongeBob fading into the scene. He was just standing there for a few seconds until his nose expanded and exploded into green goo, possibly snot. Doesn't really matter, does it? It floats around the screen for a while until it then gets stuck in by someone behind the splat. It was Squidward. He sucks it up with a straw and stand there for 3 seconds until his head exploded. Not gory, just his head exploded with a 16-bit pixelated explosion. His head disappeared and a pixel rainbow rocket comes up from his neck with a shock Patrick flag. What's a shock Patrick? Is it supposed to be like a shocked Patrick? I'm only saying this because shock is also capitalized, so it's almost like saying like a shiny Pokemon or something. I don't know. All of it fades away, leaving the same rainbow swirl on screen. Music suddenly gets all weird. It's replaced with some weird swooshes similar to the sound of a UFO in movies. It then got mixed with a slide whistle, playing very awkwardly. The swirl in the background was very slow and it appeared on screen, but it started to go faster. It suddenly changed its color, similar to Microsoft Window Movie Maker's color effect. Not that I would know what that is, because I don't use Microsoft Windows Movie Maker, because I am a professional. There was a few frames that shows a picture cut from some SpongeBob episodes. They seem to take up about 3 frames. One showed a morbid Mr. Krabs from Jellyfish Hunters. Another showed a morbid Squidward from Just One Bite. I wouldn't call that morbid. That's one of my favorite screens in the whole thing. It cracks me up. And morbid Patrick from Life of Crime. I don't remember that one. After that, for a second, it glitched with a loud beep and the screen crapping up. What appeared on the screen in front of the swirl rainbow was SpongeBob. He had no face, just a black hole. For a few seconds, 2 real human eyes appeared in the black hole. The eyes looked up, down, left, right in quick motion. New audio began to join the already weird audio. Now, I didn't mention this before, and I probably won't mention it again anytime soon. This better makes sense. I was a fan of video games, so I know the video game's well-made soundtrack, which is why I found it similar in the first place. The music was loosely based off Adventure Time, Hey Ice King, Why'd You Steal All Our Garbage, which I guess it's a thing. Game music called Mount Cragdor mixed with the Super Smash Bros. Brawl version of Donkey Kong country music, Jungle Groove. Well, the first part of that music. Why do you not have any original content in your body? These 2 musics were mixed with the weird audio making it sound surreal. These music were done in a SpongeBob style, you know, the music that plays in the background in the episodes. However, in an Adventure Time 3DS music, the chorus sounds like they're saying, Patrick's diabetes, I don't know how it goes, so I can't replicate it. The bizarre scene goes on for about 30 seconds until 4 SpongeBobs fades in around for the corner of the screen. They as well have no face, just a big mouth similar to the one from Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 6, the motion picture. Stop referencing things, just explain them. I know they're not smart, but it makes you sound smarter than this. He then suddenly shouts SpongeBob SquarePants in the voice of the children from the SpongeBob intro. I can't speak. As the background music added a deformed, crazed up background music of the SpongeBob theme and all the other sounds and music. SpongeBob with the human eyes just kept doing what it was doing as the background started to get faster. So fast that you can't even watch the background since it could hurt your eyes. The 4 SpongeBobs kept shouting SpongeBob SquarePants with their mouths lip synced, the quote saying in the right moments in the distorted theme. The voices got louder and distorted, blah blah blah, with the music and the audio get more crazed. Everything then stopped with a loud screech as the background then melted down into black. Music stopped with the screech of the SpongeBobs, with the human eyes stopped and stared at the camera. It was silence, and they kept staring. A mouth appeared on the hole. It said in a perverted SpongeBob voice, Hey Patrick. Another glitch happened, unlike before, it lasted for 3 seconds. The beep was more louder, and the screen was a bit unviewable. After the glitch, the face of Black Hole SpongeBob was close to the camera with his mouth smiling and eyes wide. He said his final words, Join us, as the screen cut to black. And that was Patrick's Diabetes Part 2. Now this is a 3-part deal, but just like last time, I'm just going to go ahead and review Part 2 on its own now, and then I'm going to take a little break, do a few other creepypastas next time, then come back to Part 3 as soon as I can. And before I get into that, I just want to say, I got a new phone recently, and all my notes for what episode suggestions I need to do were on there. So if you wanted to do me a favor and remind me of a few, that would be great. Unless you left them in my discussions where I can get to them really easy, some of them are buried in comments by now. So it's going to be hard to get to. I remember a few, like I know Jerry Aveniri wanted me to do the Black Friday incident in the dating game. I know Isaiah Vickery wanted me to do the Twin Paradox. I know Jay Bluebird wanted me to do Eyeless Jack, I believe. I swear I had more than that. If I missed you, and I definitely said I caught your suggestion, please remind me in the comments below. Otherwise, I'm going to have to go based purely on memory. So I'm sorry if you got skipped because you didn't watch this video or something. I don't know. So, this part. This part I actually tried a lot harder to be horror-oriented, I feel. I still feel it did it extremely lazily, however. Like pretty much everything that came out of the story was just a bunch of references to other kind of creepy elements from other episodes. They didn't insert a lot of their own creepiness in, and when they did, it was subpar. Like, when I said I was surprised that certain parts were trying to be scary, I wasn't joking. I really didn't get the vibe I was supposed to be freaked out at that point. I didn't even really feel creeped out. Maybe it's because I'm desensitized or something. But, yeah, the reference thing really bugs me. I don't see the point of subject lines if he's not going to write a subject except for 2 fucking time periods. Also, I'm not exactly paying attention to the time periods, but I feel this episode has been going on for hours. That makes no sense considering how he described it. Because, actually, I guess with how much I've read, it's been a couple of hours now, I think, because each episode's like 20-ish minutes, give or take. I don't know. But, yeah, and I just feel he also suffers from the shock deal, like throwing in a sexual scene for no particular reason, except for it's a kid's show and they're having a sexual scene. And it's not even really that, it's barely that. And I don't know, yeah. I think the lack of originality is what bugs me the most, because frankly, this is just like every other Lost episode I read, but with a lot less effort put into it, which is kind of sad. I'll resume part 3 after a couple of other stories. I haven't decided which one I'm going to do next. I'm going to try and find a shorter one to do next, so we'll see. But like I said, I have a few days off, so I'm actually going to be able to record that episode, and I'm doing another fan fiction on Sunday. I believe I'm getting back to Ed, Edd, and Eddy in Teletubby Land on Sunday. So that'll be fun. Kind of. For you guys, anyway. So, hope you all enjoyed the episode. Hope you all glad I'm back. I don't think that came out right, but I'm also... Anyway, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, like the video. Comment. Tell me I suck, I need to get my shit together. Whatever works for you, I don't particularly care. So, until then, I will see you all real soon. Catch you all on the next one.